I thought I knew my daughter. After raising her for 42 years, sacrificing everything for her success, I believed there were no secrets between us. But what I discovered in her basement that October afternoon revealed a monster I had created with my own hands, and my revenge was more devastating than anything she could have imagined. But before we get into the story, please support us by liking and subscribing right now. I also want to say hi. Leave your name, city, and the word present in the comments. I want to know where you're listening from, even in faraway places. It was a Tuesday morning when I arrived at my daughter Jennifer's house in Portland. She had given me a key years ago, after her father died, telling me I could visit whenever I wanted. That morning, she was supposed to be at a business conference in Seattle, and I had decided to surprise her by organizing her garage, which was always a mess. I'm 67 years old, and people say I should be resting, enjoying my retirement. But I've never been good at sitting still. After my husband Thomas passed away 5 years ago, Jennifer became my whole world. She was successful, married to a lawyer named David, living in a beautiful house in the suburbs. I was so proud of everything she had accomplished. I started working in the garage around 9 in the morning. It was full of boxes, old furniture, things accumulated over years. Jennifer had always been a bit disorganized with material things, even though she was impeccable in her professional life. I thought I was doing her a favor. That's when I found the locked door leading to the basement. I had been in that house dozens of times and had never noticed that door. It was hidden behind shelving units full of paint cans and gardening tools. Something about that door made me uncomfortable. Why would it be locked? What was Jennifer hiding down there? I searched for the key for almost an hour. I looked in drawers, in boxes, in every corner of the garage. Finally, I found a small key taped under Jennifer's workbench. My hands were shaking as I held it. Part of me knew I shouldn't open that door, but another part, the mother's part, needed to know what my daughter was hiding. When I opened the door and went down the stairs, the smell hit me first. It was a mixture of perfume, something chemical, and something else I couldn't identify. The basement was lit by dim lights, and what I saw made my heart stop. The walls were covered with photographs, dozens, maybe hundreds of photographs of different women. Some were surveillance photos, taken from a distance. Others seemed to be from social media. And in the center of one wall, there was a large board with names, addresses, schedules. It looked like something from a crime investigation. But what made me fall to my knees was seeing the table in the corner. On it were women's personal belongings, wallets, jewelry, IDs, credit cards, all organized in plastic boxes with labels. Each label had a name and a date. My stomach turned when I recognized one of the names, Patricia Morrison, a woman who had disappeared in Portland 6 months ago. I remembered seeing her face on the news. I felt the cold basement floor against my knees as reality hit me. My daughter, my successful and perfect daughter, was involved in something horrible. Those weren't just random photos. This was systematic, planned, obsessive. My first instinct was to call the police, but my hand froze over my phone. This was my daughter, my baby, the girl I had raised, sacrificed everything for. How could this be possible? There had to be an explanation. There had to be something I didn't understand. I climbed the stairs in a panic, closed the door, and sat in Jennifer's living room, trying to breathe. My mind was racing. Should I confront her? Should I call the police? Should I pretend I saw nothing? Every option seemed impossible. Hours passed while I sat there, frozen. I looked at the family photos on the walls. Jennifer as a child, smiling in her school uniform. Jennifer at her college graduation. Jennifer on her wedding day. How had that smiling girl become this? When I heard the garage door opening, my heart almost stopped. Jennifer was home early. I hadn't prepared what to say. I hadn't prepared for anything. She walked in smiling, surprised to see me. "Mom, what are you doing here? I thought you were going to visit Aunt Carol in Sacramento this week." I looked at my daughter's face, searching for signs of the monster I had discovered in the basement, but all I saw was Jennifer, my daughter, sweet, successful, normal. How could someone hide something so dark behind such a perfect facade? I changed my plans, I managed to say, my voice sounding strange even to myself. I came to help you organize the garage. Jennifer's smile faltered for a second, just a second. But I saw it. That flash of panic in her eyes before she recovered her composure. That's so sweet of you, Mom. But you didn't need to. I know the garage is a mess, but I'll take care of it eventually. We stood there, mother and daughter, both knowing something had changed, but neither ready to acknowledge it. The air between us was thick with unspoken words. I felt like I was looking at a stranger wearing my daughter's face. I need to go, I said suddenly, grabbing my purse. I forgot I have a doctor's appointment. But Mom, stay for lunch. I was going to make your favorite pasta. No, I really need to go. I practically ran out of that house, my hands shaking so hard I could barely unlock my car. As I drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror and saw Jennifer standing in the doorway, watching me with an expression I had never seen before. It was cold, calculating, almost predatory. That's when I knew with absolute certainty that my daughter knew I had found her secret. And what terrified me most was not knowing what she would do about it. Friends, every story I tell you is released every day. But YouTube will only show them to you if you tap the red subscribe button. Please do it now while I'm speaking. Tap subscribe, turn on notifications, and you'll never miss a story. Have you done it yet? Thank you. I drove around Portland for hours, unable to go home. My mind kept returning to that basement, to those photographs, to those personal belongings of missing women. How long had this been going on? How had I not noticed anything? I thought back to Jennifer's childhood, searching for signs I had missed. She was always an intense child, focused, ambitious. After her father died when she was 12, she became even more closed off. I thought it was normal grief. I thought she was just being strong. Jennifer excelled at everything. Perfect grades, athletic achievements, leadership positions. She got a full scholarship to Stanford, graduated top of her class, built a successful career in real estate. Everyone admired her. I admired her. I thought I had done everything right as a mother. But now I wondered if I had been so blinded by her success that I ignored warning signs. Were there moments when I should have questioned things? Times when her behavior was strange, but I dismissed it as stress or ambition? I remembered an incident when Jennifer was 16. Her best friend Sarah suddenly stopped coming to our house. When I asked why, Jennifer said Sarah had betrayed her, spread rumors about her. I never questioned it. I supported my daughter unconditionally. Now I wondered what really happened between them. There were other things too. In college, Jennifer had a roommate who transferred schools mid-semester. Jennifer said the girl couldn't handle the academic pressure. Another friend who disappeared from her life after a falling out. A co-worker who quit suddenly after Jennifer joined her company. I had always believed Jennifer's versions of these stories. Now every explanation seemed suspicious. I parked at a coffee shop and sat there with trembling hands, trying to decide what to do. If I went to the police, I would destroy my daughter's life. But if I didn't, I would be complicit in whatever she had done. How do you choose between being a good mother and being a good person? My phone rang. It was Jennifer. I stared at her name on the screen, my heart pounding. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. Finally, she sent a text. Mom, we need to talk. Please come back to the house. I can explain everything. The rational part of me knew I shouldn't go back, but the mother in me needed to hear what she had to say. I needed to understand how my daughter had become this person. So I drove back to her house, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. Jennifer was waiting for me in the living room. She had made tea, arranged cookies on a plate, like we were about to have a normal mother-daughter conversation. The domesticity of it all made everything more surreal. You went down to the basement, she said. It wasn't a question. I nodded, unable to speak. Jennifer sighed and sat down, gesturing for me to sit across from her. I remained standing. "I knew you would eventually," she continued, her voice calm, almost gentle. "You've always been too curious for your own good, Mom. It's one of the things I inherited from you." "Jennifer, what is all that? Those photos, those belongings, that woman who disappeared?" "Patricia Morrison," Jennifer said softly. "She was trying to steal my biggest client. She had been spreading lies about me, trying to destroy my reputation. She thought she could ruin everything I've built. So you... What did you do to her?" Jennifer smiled, and it was the most chilling thing I had ever seen. "I didn't do anything to her, Mom. I just collected information. I like to know everything about people who cross me. It's how I stay ahead in business. It's how I protect myself." "This isn't about business," I said, my voice shaking. "This is obsession. This is stalking. Jennifer, there are personal belongings down there. How did you get them?" "People are careless," she said simply. "They leave their purses unattended, drop things, forget items. I just pick them up. It's not illegal to find lost property." I felt sick. She was lying, and she knew I knew she was lying. But she was doing it so calmly, so rationally, as if she believed her own words. What about all the other women? There must be 30 or 40 different people in those photos. Competitors, enemies, people who've tried to hurt me. I keep track of them. It's called being strategic, Mom. You always taught me to be prepared, to know my enemies. I'm just doing what you taught me." Her words hit me like a slap. Was she right? Had I somehow planted the seeds of this obsession with my own lessons about being strong, being prepared, never letting anyone take advantage of you? "This isn't what I taught you," I whispered. "This is something else, something wrong." Jennifer's expression hardened. "You need to leave now, Mom. And you need to forget what you saw. This doesn't concern you. Those women are fine. They're all fine. I haven't hurt anyone. I just like to be informed. Now please go home. Forget about the basement. Forget about what you saw." But as I looked at my daughter's cold eyes, I knew she was lying about everything. And I knew that I had a terrible choice to make. Because the truth was becoming clear. Jennifer wasn't just collecting information. She was doing something much, much worse. And I had to decide whether to protect my daughter or protect her victims. I left Jennifer's house that day feeling like I was walking through a nightmare. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those photographs, those belongings, that board with names and addresses. My daughter was sick, and I had been too blind to see it. For the next 3 days, I barely slept. I researched obsessively on my laptop, looking up the names I had seen on Jennifer's board. Patricia Morrison, the woman whose ID I had seen, was officially listed as a missing person. The police had no leads. Her family was desperate for information. Then there was Rebecca Chen, another name from the basement. She had filed a police report 6 months ago about being stalked. Someone had been following her, taking photos, going through her trash. The case was never solved. Now I knew who had been stalking her. I found 3 other women who had similar stories. All of them had crossed paths with Jennifer professionally. All of them had reported strange incidents, being followed, having items stolen, receiving threatening anonymous messages, and all of these incidents had gone unsolved. My daughter wasn't just obsessive, she was dangerous, and I was the only person who knew the truth. I thought about going to the police 100 times. I even drove to the police station twice, but couldn't bring myself to go inside. How do you turn in your own child? How do you destroy the life of the person you brought into this world? But then I thought about Patricia Morrison's mother, probably crying herself to sleep every night, wondering if her daughter was alive. I thought about Rebecca Chen, probably afraid to leave her house, looking over her shoulder constantly. These women were someone's daughters too. On the 4th day, Jennifer called me. Her voice was sweet, concerned, nothing like the cold person I had seen in her living room. "Mom, I'm worried about you. You haven't answered my calls. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I lied. Can I come over? I want to talk to you. I want to explain things properly. I think you misunderstood what you saw. No, don't come here. There was a pause. When Jennifer spoke again, her voice had changed. Mom, I need you to understand something. That basement is my private space. What you saw needs to stay between us, for your own good. Are you threatening me? I'm protecting you. If you go to the police, if you tell anyone what you saw, they'll investigate. And when they investigate, they'll find out you've known for days and said nothing. That makes you an accomplice. Do you understand? My hands were shaking. My own daughter was manipulating me, trapping me in her web of lies. Jennifer, please, get help. There are therapists who can. I don't need help. I need you to be quiet and stay out of my business. Can you do that, Mom? Can you be a good mother and protect your daughter? She hung up before I could respond. I sat there in my small apartment in Beaverton, feeling more alone than I had since my husband died. Jennifer was right about one thing. I had waited too long. If I went to the police now, I might face charges for not reporting what I knew immediately. But something Jennifer said gave me an idea. She had mentioned that going to the police would trigger an investigation. An investigation would expose everything in that basement. And if I couldn't bring myself to directly turn in my daughter, maybe I could make sure someone else discovered her secrets. I spent the next 2 days planning. I couldn't access Jennifer's house myself. She had probably changed the locks by now. But I knew her schedule. I knew David, her husband, worked late on Thursdays. I knew Jennifer had a business dinner that same night that would keep her out until at least 10. So I did something I never thought I would do. I called David from a burner phone I bought at a convenience store. I disguised my voice, made it sound younger, more nervous. Is this David Morrison? Yes. Who is this? I can't tell you my name, but I need you to know something about your wife. There's something in your basement that you need to see. Thursday night, when she's at her dinner, check the locked basement door in your garage. The key is taped under her workbench. Who is this? Is this some kind of joke? Just check the basement. If I'm wrong, you can forget this call ever happened. But if I'm right, you'll understand why I can't give you my name. I hung up before he could ask more questions. My heart was pounding. I had just set in motion something that couldn't be undone. But I kept thinking about Patricia Morrison's mother, and I knew I had made the right choice. Thursday night, I sat in my apartment with all the lights off, staring at my phone. I didn't know what would happen. Maybe David wouldn't check. Maybe he would check and confront Jennifer privately. Maybe he already knew about the basement and was part of whatever Jennifer was doing. At 10:47 p.m., my phone lit up with news alerts. There was police activity at an address in Portland. I clicked on the article with trembling hands. It was Jennifer's address. Multiple police cars, an ambulance, neighbors being interviewed. The article didn't have many details yet, just that police were investigating a residence in connection with several missing persons cases. But I knew. David had checked the basement. David had called the police. Jennifer's secret was out, and I was the one who had exposed it. My own daughter. The child I had raised, sacrificed for, loved unconditionally. I had destroyed her life to save the lives of strangers. I should have felt relieved. I should have felt like I did the right thing. Instead, I felt like I had betrayed everything a mother is supposed to be. But as I sat there in the darkness, I knew that sometimes being a good person means being a bad mother, and I would have to live with that choice for the rest of my life. If you want to know how this story ends and discover many more, hit the red subscribe button. It's free, and it helps me a lot. The next morning, Jennifer's face was all over the news. The beautiful, successful real estate agent arrested in connection with the disappearance of Patricia Morrison and the stalking of at least 6 other women. The media called her the Portland Collector because of the personal items found in her basement. I watched the news coverage in horror, seeing my daughter in handcuffs being led into a police car. She looked directly at the camera, and even though I was watching through my TV screen, I felt like she was looking right at me. She knew. Somehow, she knew I was responsible for this. David was also on the news, looking devastated. He claimed he had no idea about the basement, about Jennifer's obsessions. He said his wife had always been private about certain parts of her life, but he never imagined anything like this. I wondered if he was telling the truth or if he was just a good liar like Jennifer. My phone started ringing. Jennifer's lawyer wanted to talk to me. The police wanted to interview me. Jennifer's friends called, asking if I knew anything. I ignored all of them and sat in my apartment, paralyzed by what I had done. But the news that shook me most came 2 days after Jennifer's arrest. Patricia Morrison had been found. She was alive, being held in a storage unit Jennifer had rented under a fake name on the outskirts of Portland. She had been there for 6 months, chained in a small room, surviving on minimal food and water. The details that emerged were horrifying. Jennifer had kidnapped Patricia after a business dispute, planning to keep her locked up indefinitely as punishment for trying to steal her client. Patricia had lost 30 pounds, was suffering from severe malnutrition and psychological trauma. But she was alive. I cried for hours when I heard that news. If I had waited any longer, if I had chosen to protect Jennifer over doing what was right, Patricia might have died in that storage unit. My decision to call David had saved a woman's life. But the investigation revealed even more disturbing truths. Jennifer had been stalking and harassing women for over 15 years. The basement was just the latest version of an obsession that had started in college. Police found evidence of similar collections in storage units across 3 different states. Some of the women Jennifer had targeted had moved away, changed their names, lived in fear for years. Others had suffered nervous breakdowns, lost their careers, developed severe anxiety disorders. Jennifer had destroyed dozens of lives systematically, methodically, over more than a decade. And I had never noticed anything. I had been so proud of my successful daughter that I never questioned how she achieved that success. I never wondered why she had so few close friends, why her professional relationships were always complicated, why people seemed to drift away from her life. The police finally came to interview me. I told them about finding the basement, about Jennifer's threats, about why I had waited to report. The detective was a woman in her 40s named Sarah Brennan. She looked at me with a mixture of sympathy and disappointment. "Mrs. Fletcher, I understand this was your daughter, but you waited almost a week. Patricia Morrison was suffering every single day you delayed." "I know," I whispered. "I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life." "Why did you finally decide to act?" "Because I realized that being a good mother doesn't mean protecting your child from the consequences of their actions. It means teaching them to be good people. And I failed at that. But I could at least try to prevent Jennifer from hurting anyone else." Detective Brennan nodded slowly. "We're not charging you as an accessory, because you ultimately did come forward, even if indirectly. But Mrs. Fletcher, your daughter is facing life in prison. Multiple counts of kidnapping, stalking, harassment, assault. The evidence is overwhelming." "I know." "She's claiming temporary insanity. Her lawyers want you to testify about her difficult childhood, her father's death, anything that might create sympathy with a jury." I looked Detective Brennan in the eyes. "My daughter is not insane. She's calculating, intelligent, and fully aware of what she was doing. And I won't help her escape justice." The detective looked surprised. Most mothers would do anything to protect their children, even guilty ones. But I had spent the last week thinking about Patricia Morrison's mother, about Rebecca Chen's sleepless nights, about all the women Jennifer had terrorized. Those mothers deserved justice too. Jennifer's trial began 3 months later. I attended every day, sitting in the back of the courtroom. Jennifer never looked at me once. She sat at the defense table looking small and vulnerable, nothing like the cold predator I had seen in her living room that day. Her lawyers tried to paint her as a victim herself, a woman driven to obsession by childhood trauma, by the pressure to succeed, by mental illness. They called experts who testified about her psychological state. They tried to make her seem sympathetic. But the prosecutors had the evidence. They had the basement, the storage unit, the testimonies of Jennifer's victims. They had records showing Jennifer had been planning these activities meticulously for years. There was nothing spontaneous or uncontrolled about what she had done. When it came time for victim impact statements, I watched as Patricia Morrison's mother spoke about the 6 months she thought her daughter was dead. I watched Rebecca Chen describe the panic attacks she still suffered. I watched woman after woman explain how Jennifer had destroyed their sense of safety, their careers, their mental health. And I realized that my daughter was a serial predator who happened to have found a way to hurt people that wasn't quite murder. She had destroyed lives methodically, enjoyed their suffering, and would have continued if I hadn't stopped her. The jury deliberated for only 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Jennifer finally looked at me as the verdict was read, and the hatred in her eyes was absolute. I had betrayed her in the worst way possible, by choosing justice over family loyalty. Jennifer was sentenced to 45 years in prison without possibility of parole. At 42 years old, she would be 87 when released, if she lived that long. The judge called her crimes a systematic campaign of terror against innocent women, and said she showed no genuine remorse. I visited Jennifer in prison once, 2 months after her sentencing. I don't know why I went. Maybe I hoped to see some sign of the daughter I thought I had raised. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I was just a foolish old woman who couldn't fully let go. She looked different in her prison uniform. Older, harder. The perfect makeup and expensive clothes that had been her armor were gone. For the first time in years, I saw the real Jennifer, stripped of all pretense. We sat across from each other in the visiting room, separated by a glass partition. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally, Jennifer picked up the phone on her side, and I did the same. "Why did you come?" she asked. Her voice was flat, emotionless. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "I guess I wanted to see you, to try to understand." "Understand what? How your perfect daughter turned into a monster?" "You're not a monster, Jennifer. You're sick. You need help." She laughed bitterly. "I don't need help, Mom. I'm exactly who I've always been. You just finally saw it. When did it start? When did you become this?" Jennifer leaned back in her chair, studying me like I was an insect under a microscope. "Do you really want to know? Or would you prefer to keep believing I was normal until some traumatic event broke me?" "Tell me." I was 11, maybe 12. There was a girl in my class named Amy Rodriguez. She was pretty, popular, everything I wasn't. I hated her. So I started taking things from her. Small things at first, a pencil, an eraser, then bigger things, her favorite necklace, her diary. She cried for weeks about losing her diary, not knowing I was reading it every night. I felt sick hearing this. "It made me feel powerful," Jennifer continued. "Having pieces of her that she didn't know I had, knowing her secrets, controlling a part of her life without her even knowing. That feeling never went away. It only got stronger. And your father's death? Had nothing to do with it. You want to blame something, Mom. You want there to be a reason. But some people are just wired differently. I don't feel guilt the way you do. I don't feel empathy. Those women I hurt? I felt nothing for them except anger that they were in my way." I was crying now, tears running down my face. How did I not see this? How did I raise you for 42 years and not see who you really were? Because you saw what you wanted to see. The successful daughter. The perfect child. You were so proud of me that you never asked how I got ahead, how I won every competition, how I always knew exactly how to beat my rivals. You never wanted to know. She was right. I had been willfully blind. Every time someone spoke badly about Jennifer, I defended her. Every time a friendship ended, I believed her version of events. I had been her accomplice all along, not through action, but through willful ignorance. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm sorry I failed you. I'm sorry I didn't get you help when you were young enough to change. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to all the women whose lives I ruined because you were too self-absorbed to see what was right in front of you. Her words cut deep because they were true. I had been a bad mother, just in a different way than I thought. I hadn't failed Jennifer by reporting her to the police. I had failed her decades earlier by not seeing the signs, not getting her help, not setting proper boundaries. "Do you hate me?" I asked. "Yes," she said simply. "You're my mother. You were supposed to protect me no matter what. Instead, you chose strangers over your own daughter. So yes, I hate you, and I'll hate you every day for the next 45 years. I couldn't let you hurt anyone else. You could have. Mothers protect their children. That's what they do. But you chose to be a good citizen instead of a good mother. Live with that choice, Mom. I hope it keeps you awake at night." I wanted to argue, to defend myself, to make her understand. But she was right about one thing. I would carry this guilt for the rest of my life. The guilt of raising a monster. The guilt of not seeing the signs. The guilt of waiting even a week before acting. But I would also carry the knowledge that I had saved Patricia Morrison's life. That I had stopped Jennifer from destroying more women. That I had chosen to do what was right even when it destroyed me. "I'm sorry, Jennifer," I said one last time. "For everything. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught in an impossible situation. You're sorry you had to make a choice, but you're not sorry for turning me in. You'd do it again." She was right. I would do it again, every time, because Patricia Morrison deserved to live, because Rebecca Chen deserved to feel safe, because all of Jennifer's victims deserved justice. "Goodbye, Jennifer," I said, standing up. "This is the last time you'll see me," she said coldly. "I'm taking you off my visitor list. As far as I'm concerned, I don't have a mother anymore." I nodded, unable to speak through my tears. I hung up the phone and walked out of that prison, knowing I would never see my daughter again. And the worst part was understanding that the woman I had just visited was a stranger. The real Jennifer, the daughter I thought I had raised, had never existed. She had been a mask, a performance, a lie. The monster in prison was who my daughter had always been. A year has passed since Jennifer's trial. I'm 68 now, living alone in my small apartment, working part-time at a bookstore because I can't stand being idle with my thoughts. People in my life know what happened. It was all over the news. Some friends stopped calling. Others offered sympathy that felt hollow. My sister Carol tries to be supportive, but I can see the question in her eyes. How did you not know? I ask myself that question every day. I've been going to therapy, trying to process everything. My therapist says I did the right thing, that I saved lives, that I can't blame myself for Jennifer's choices. But knowing something intellectually and feeling it emotionally are different things. Patricia Morrison sent me a letter 3 months ago. She thanked me for saving her life. She told me she was getting help, trying to recover, learning to feel safe again. She didn't blame me for waiting a week. She said she understood that turning in your own child must be the hardest thing anyone could do. Her forgiveness somehow made me feel worse. I don't deserve forgiveness. I raised the person who destroyed her life. I think a lot about the signs I missed. Jennifer's childhood cruelties that I dismissed as normal kid behavior. Her intense need to win at everything. The way friends always seemed to drift away. The cold calculation behind her professional success. I used to think I was a good mother because Jennifer was successful. Now I understand that success means nothing if the person is fundamentally broken inside. I prioritized achievement over character, results over ethics. And in doing so, I enabled a monster. The question that haunts me most is whether Jennifer was born this way or if I made her into this. My therapist says it doesn't matter now. What's done is done. But it matters to me. If she was born without empathy, without conscience, then maybe I couldn't have prevented what she became. But if her obsessions were nurtured by my blind ambition for her, by my refusal to see her flaws, then every life she destroyed is partially my responsibility. I'll never know the answer to that question, and I'll carry that uncertainty to my grave. Sometimes late at night, I still see Jennifer's face as the guilty verdict was read. The pure hatred in her eyes, my daughter looking at me like I was her worst enemy. Because I was. I was the person who destroyed her perfect life, who exposed her secrets, who chose justice over maternal loyalty. But I would do it again, every time. Because being a mother doesn't mean protecting your child from consequences. It means teaching them to be good people. And when you fail at that, when your child becomes a predator, you have to choose whether to enable them or stop them. I chose to stop her. And yes, it destroyed our relationship. Yes, it cost me my daughter. Yes, it left me alone at 68 with nothing but guilt and questions. But Patricia Morrison is alive. Rebecca Chen is healing. The other women Jennifer terrorized can sleep safely knowing she's in prison. And in the end, that has to be enough. Even if it means living with the knowledge that my daughter hates me. Even if it means dying alone, knowing I failed as a mother in the most fundamental way possible. I saved strangers by sacrificing my child, and I'll never know if that makes me a hero or a monster. If you enjoyed this story, click subscribe and tell me in the comments what part impressed you. There's more tomorrow. See you there.